Good morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and today a detailed forecast update coming your way. We're going to be talking about storms and cold fronts expected across the southern states of Australia. We're also going to be talking about some very cold temperatures that are expected to develop in their wake. We've got some storms for New South Wales and some heavy rainfall on the way for Queensland too. We've got a lot to be talking about over in Western Australia with some cold fronts on the forecast and all of that, plus more coming up in today's weather forecast. Please do consider subscribing if you haven't already. Your support is greatly appreciated. So taking a look down south right now, you can see here across South Australia, Victoria and Tasmania, and even into the western corners of New South Wales. We've got some cloud and shower activity streaming into those states. This is bringing some light to moderate rainfall throughout Victoria, South Australia, and even into parts of New South Wales. We've had accumulations overnight in the wake of this cold front of up to 15 millimetres across the mainland states and up to 25 millimetres in Tasmania, with some gusty winds there as well. You can be seeing winds down on Matsika Island and over in Gaffs Hill, gusting well in excess of gale force, and that's been happening for the last 12 hours. Typically those locations are still very windy, but you can just get a sense of scope of this cold front is a little bit stronger than it looks, especially for Tasmania, which we will get to in just a few minutes. But throughout the course of today, especially into the central and the western halves of Victoria, the eastern half rather of Victoria, expect a few showers, maybe some snow and some higher elevation areas as well, and even some light rain into the southern parts of New South Wales close to the Victorian border, and that light rain to shower activity extending across the pastoral districts of South Australia into the southeastern corner of the state as well, before another cold front, which is brushing up from the south now, is about to cross the coast across the coastline of South Australia. That's one that I really want to be talking about because this one is a little bit stronger and it's going to be bringing some very cold air in its wake. So we'll touch on that right now. You can see this cold front here. This is a primary one moving through South Australia, Victoria and in New South Wales. Also give me some feedback on the new colours that we're using today for the rain maps and so forth. You can also see some snow expected to extend into the New South Wales highlands from about lunchtime today, expecting some snow down on the higher elevations of Victoria as well, but it will be really hit and miss in some of these locations, so don't get your hopes up. Unless you live above sort of 1,300 metres, when it is going to be pretty consistent snow. Throughout South Australia, the worst of the rainfall easing off by around 5 or 6 p.m. tonight before it dries out for the weekend by the looks of things. Some rainfall heading down towards Tasmania as well later tonight. We're looking like it's going to be quite a strong cold front in terms of some of the winds. We're expecting gusts in excess of gale force along the western coast. Also some snow accumulations expected on the Tasmanian highlands tonight, and rainfall accumulations expected to be around 25 hours to the 9 a.m. on Friday. Also, in the wake of this cold front, another powerful low pressure system in its wake, pressure of 978 millibars, quite close to the Australian coastline as well. So this is going to be bringing a little bit of a storm tide across the western coast of Tasmania. So just be warned that tide marks are expected to be exceeded throughout Friday morning into Friday afternoon with the passage of this cold front. Some strong winds also in its wake here could be bringing a little bit of a storm tide into the Bass Strait. Some heavy rainfall is expected to be pretty much isolated to the South Australian and Victorian coastline, but it will extend across Tasmania. We could be seeing accumulations once again on Friday approach 25 to 30 millimetres across the higher elevations, especially around Mount Reid. In a front like this, you'd be expecting 50 millimetres around that location. The southeastern corner of Tasmania and the metro areas around Melbourne expecting to miss out on the majority of this rainfall as well, might I add, which is unfortunate. They're just too protected from hills and mountains surrounding them. A bit of snow also extending into Victoria and even into the higher elevations of New South Wales through Saturday night. In fact, this looks like it could be heavy snow at times, especially for areas above 1,300 metres in elevation. And in the wake of this low pressure system as well, expecting some showers and snow down to about 700 metres across Tasmania on Saturday night into Sunday morning before this weather clears up through the Bass Strait into Victoria and New South Wales on Sunday. And in its wake, a high pressure system builds, which will lead us very nicely on to the next part of our video by just a few minutes, and then I'll be talking about the cold snap that's expected to extend over there. In terms of rainfall accumulation over the next 10 days, not too much across South Australia, only a couple of millimetres expected here and there. The Eyre Peninsula will be pretty hit and miss. Down in Adelaide, expecting around 25 millimetres or so. The darker areas indicate zero rainfall, and a lot of that is extending across New South Wales. They're not really expecting any rainfall from this weather event. Over in Victoria, though, along the coastline, a healthy 25 to 30 millimetres can be expected from this weather system here. Melbourne also expecting around 20 millimetres or so. The majority of that will be falling on Friday and into this weekend. The west coast of Tasmania, typically very wet and weather systems like this, and it shows they're expecting above 60 millimetres of rainfall from only 2 cold fronts, which don't look particularly strong either. So that is some good accumulations through the western areas of Tasmania and into the mountainous areas of Tasmania as well. Also, in terms of snowfall, looking like there's going to be some good and fairly widespread accumulations, especially this weekend across Victoria and New South Wales. We could be seeing snow on Saturday night into Sunday early afternoon, down to around 800 metres across some areas. That is a little bit of a bullish forecast, I might add, but still some good snowfall accumulations expected there, and 15 centimetres expected to fall around Thredbo. Same or similar accumulations across Tasmania, peaking out at around 10 to 15 centimetres. This will be mostly mixed with rainfall, might I add, so not too much is expected to settle, but we could be seeing some freezing rain as well, so that is just a point worth noting. You can already start to see here with this high pressure system overlaid with the temperature observations at major areas, you're looking at temperatures significantly falling below zero across Sunday night into early Monday morning. That is a sign of this high pressure system. It means that we're going to be going into a pretty decent cold snap, and temperatures could be as low as 6 to 7 or maybe even 8 degrees below the long-term average. Looking at temperatures across the highlands of New South Wales and down towards -6, -7 across Monday night, and widespread temperatures falling below 0 degrees on Monday morning. So it could be a very big frost day across New South Wales and into Victoria as well. Temperatures also refusing to climb into double digits for a lot of locations. I mean, Orange, it's pretty typical not to get double digits this time of the year, but still only 4 or 5, 6 degrees, I believe, on Monday. So very, very cold indeed before another cold start on Tuesday morning. Widespread temperature drops to around -8, -9 degrees in the highlands of New South Wales and into Victoria, and a huge swathe of below 0 degree temperatures indicated by the white here across Victoria and New South Wales. Now, this is very concerning because these temperatures aren't just like 0 or -1, -2 to -3 in places, and that could be causing some pretty significant frost damage across some of the agricultural districts of New South Wales and Victoria. So just a heads up to farmers right now, you've got some nasty frost days coming in Monday, Tuesday, especially Tuesday, and even into Wednesday as well. Temperatures not going to be warming up too much on Wednesday, but still they are a little bit of a reprieve, I guess, on Wednesday. But yeah, just make sure that you are prepared for some pretty significant frosts, especially in the northern half of Victoria and the southern half of New South Wales on Tuesday morning. It looks like it's going to be a brute of a day, and conditions, like I said, not rising very much throughout the day as well. I mean, maximum temperatures in the low teens. As you get further north into New South Wales, they do get up towards the mid to high teens, but still, it's not going to be warm at all next week until this high pressure system fully clears out into the Great Australian Bight, which will be happening sometime on Thursday. Not the Great Australian Bight, rather the Tasman Sea. The high pressure ridge does weaken off, and you can see the icy cold temperatures kind of only bound to the mountainous regions of New South Wales, Victoria and Tasmania. It will still be cold throughout Thursday and Friday across the agricultural districts of New South Wales. I mean, we'll be going down to 0 in the mountainous regions and only 2 or 3 degrees in the agricultural districts, especially if you do live in a sheltered location, but it won't be anywhere near as cold as the -2, -3 that we'll be seeing on Tuesday morning. So like I said, this is just a heads up. No crazy weather is about to happen, but this is still going to be very cold and completely typical for this time of the year, might I add. I started a comment yesterday saying that this was absolutely ridiculous weather on the forecast, and I was hyping up to be something major. It is something major to farmers. It certainly is a concern, the amount of frost that could extend across Victoria and New South Wales, especially considering it's expected to be severe frost, and warnings will be in place for this weather event. But it is completely typical weather for this time of the year, and I'm not trying to say that this is abnormal, something crazy. This is very much typical, and what we would expect in a typical winter season is some cold air to extend across the agricultural districts of Australia, need I say any more. Now, while we're in New South Wales and talking about the cold, I feel like I'm going to completely contradict myself here, but let's talk about something semi-tropical. Ahead of the cold front that's moving through Victoria and New South Wales now is a trough that's extending over New South Wales, and with these northerly winds that are pulling in moist tropical air from Queensland and into New South Wales, we're expecting temperatures to be a very pleasant low to mid-20s across the northern parts of New South Wales, and combined with a trough and some good convective available potential energy values across northern New South Wales, some summer storms can be expected tonight and into tomorrow. We're expecting showers and storms to develop from around 2 to 3 a.m. ahead of the ahead of the cold front local time in New South Wales, and they'll be developing around Tottenham Dubbo up towards Burke and Lightning Ridge. We could be seeing some heavy thunder in some locations here. You can see it through here, and as you can see from the yellows to even the reds on the rainfall map here, we're expecting light to moderate rainfall, moderate to heavy rainfall rather, across the northern parts of New South Wales, extending through the Great Dividing Range up towards Tamworth, Armidale and Glen Innes. The storms should ease off by around Friday afternoon into Friday evening. They will be a lot more widespread, I guess, on Friday, but they will be a lot weaker and a lot more isolated in their location. And a little bit of rainfall is expected to fill the gap from a low pressure system extending across the northern parts of New South Wales and Queensland before that cold snap fully does take place later on this weekend and into early Monday. And that central Queensland as well, expecting a little bit of rainfall. In terms of peak rainfall accumulations, nothing too crazy, but over the next 5 days from these storms, you can see one or two spots expecting up to 50 millimetres outside of Dubbo up towards Tamworth and Moree. So yeah, some widespread accumulations are possible, but just know that these storms will be very hit and miss and very isolated in their nature. And from the rainfall, the light falls that are expected across Queensland that will last for around 12 to 24 hours at times, expecting accumulations to approach 25 millimetres across south central Queensland outside of Roma. It feels like ages since we talk about any sort of decent rainfall in this part of Queensland, and I guess it does show on the drought monitoring map they're certainly in some drought-like conditions now, since this rainfall will just get things kind of wettened up again, get some rivers flowing maybe and get some dams topped up, which would be fantastic to see, that is for sure. In terms of rainfall accumulation though, there's really not too much to be talking about. What's powering these weather events certainly is something to talk about though. Well, convective available potential energy, you can think of it as the fuel in the environment for thunderstorms to develop, and typically when you see values above zero in New South Wales, especially this time of the year, you're looking at thunderstorms on the forecast, and you can already see values here at 151 joules per kilogram. That number is completely meaningless, but in terms of a relative scale, they are low values that we would be expecting. The blue colouring is low values, but that's certainly enough to fire up a few thunderstorms here and there. And as you get towards Friday as well, the values will be increasing up towards the green, which I class as moderate and relatively speaking. And these green values here certainly will have enough fuel to fire up a few thunderstorms around Moree at around lunchtime to early afternoon on Friday. So certainly a little bit of a taste of summer coming in here. You can see temperature observation is expected to climb into the high 20s on Friday as well. So it's going to be a very warm July day on through Queensland and parts of New South Wales as well. Certainly a few degrees Celsius above average. In fact, many degrees Celsius above average for some of these locations. Wind, like I said, expecting 28 to 29 on Friday. Very warm indeed. Now we're going to keep things very tropical as well. I've already got that warm feel, and we're going to move up to Far North Queensland now and talk about the rainfall accumulation over the next 10 days. Now the forecast models have backed it down significantly, down to about 100 millimetres at the most for the Daintree rainforest, and again about 60 to 80 millimetres for the Cassowary Coast outside of Innisfail and Tully, that sort of area. Cairns as well, not really expecting any rainfall to fall now, but still a few showers expected to continue around this area throughout the course of today. We've already had some decent rainfall accumulations up here in Far North Queensland. A few millimetres has fallen overnight outside of Cairns, and about 30 millimetres for some locations, especially around Tully and Innisfail, or between Innisfail and Cairns. They have had some good rainfall up there, and some more is on the way throughout the course of today as well. And you can see it here on this forecast, the rainfall refusing to ease off until about early tomorrow morning. There will still be showers extending across this part of Far North Queensland throughout Friday and even into this weekend as well, and they will begin to pick up once again on Monday, expecting some heavier showers to extend across the northern parts of the Daintree come around Sunday afternoon through Monday, before the rainfall is kind of sucked out of the Cassowary Coast sort of area south of Cairns. And then the rainfall that is meant to be streaming through Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday has been completely killed off the forecast model. Still expecting a little bit of rainfall through Thursday and Friday, the first 2 days of August, but again, the rainfall that we were expecting to happen sort of early to mid this coming week has been completely killed off the forecast models, and that's why accumulations have dropped very significantly. Just looking at the Coral Sea though, there's going to be a lot of moisture and a lot of rainfall and precipitation around on Thursday and Friday to start off August, so we're going to have to start talking about the tropics a lot more in these videos, because it looks like this moisture belt here could be beginning to provide some problems, especially from September through to October in this part of Far North Queensland before the real tropical rainfall does set in. Now the rainfall is pretty much set in stone at this time. You can have a look here on the other forecast models. It's very much reciprocated. There's great model congruency between forecasts here. The Axis and the Eastern will have two very reliable forecast models for rainfall and thunderstorms, saying pretty much exactly the same thing, give or take a few millimeters either side, but in terms of a rainfall pattern here, saying pretty much the exact same thing, which is just fantastic to see. It gives me a great confidence in saying how much rainfall is expected in this part of Far North Queensland. Queensland. Certainly starting to ramble now. We're going to move down to Western Australia and talk about the rainfall and the cold front activity that is starting to occur there. Now, overnight we had another cold front sweep up from the south, and it's still providing some shower to storm activity across the Perth coastal plain. That's why we're still receiving rainfall, and that's also why the roads are incredibly standstill this morning. So drive safely in, showers around the Perth metro area as well, and even down into the southwest. Showers continuing for the south coast around Albany, extending across to Esperance. Expecting no rainfall out there throughout the course of today, but still showers are fairly widespread, and they are at times light to moderate. Overnight I've picked up 20 millimeters in my gauge. I think that's actually been over the past 2 nights. It doesn't reset until the rainfall is completely cleared out. So about 20 millimeters over the past 2 nights. Some very good rainfall indeed, and it's just this sort of rainfall that we're going to be seeing for the next week by the looks of things across the Perth metro area. The showers continuing throughout the course of today, and they will actually pick up tonight and into early tomorrow morning with their kind of passage of, I guess, a southerly wave that's going to be bringing a lot of moisture and energy across the Perth coastal regions, and that could actually provide some thunderstorm activity Friday morning for the Perth metro area. The showers completely clearing out by Friday evening. It looks like it's going to be a bit of a tease to a clear weekend, but not so much really. Come Saturday night, we've already got a cold front building again, and Sunday morning we're expecting the crossing to occur across the West Australian southwest, happening around 7 or 8 a.m. for the south coastal regions. The rainfall will be starting a lot earlier than that, but the worst of it will be coming through early Sunday morning for areas such as Yallingup and Margaret River. Expecting some good rainfall as well throughout the Perth metro area, and just with the way that this cold front is moving, there will be some rainfall ahead of it, but it looks like the main front here is going to take a lot of the Lewin Current's energy Sunday night, and it's going to be firing up some nasty thunderstorms that could go severe warned for heavy rainfall, damaging winds, and there's certainly the chance of the odd waterspout for locations between Bunbury and Jurien Bay. So again, I do have high confidence in saying Sunday night into early Monday morning could be a little bit rough in terms of severe storms. They're not so much reciprocated on the forecast here, but precedence tells me with how warm the Lewin Current is still running at this time of the year that we could be seeing enough energy to fire up some decent thunderstorms ahead of this cold front here on Sunday night into early Monday morning. The rainfall continuing through Monday as well as it extends up into the northern parts of the Weed Belt past Killarney, Dalwallinu and Three Springs, up in towards the Gascoyne and the Murchison. The rainfall really not making it out into the Murchison, unfortunately, for locations out there, but they have had more than their fair share. Am I right out there? In fact, 500 millimeters year-to-date rainfall for Northampton. That is just ridiculous. That's about 2 years of rainfall falling in just 6 months for Northampton. That gives you a fresh idea on just how much rainfall has fallen out there. Good accumulations expected as well on Tuesday for locations around the southwest before another cold front brushes up on Wednesday to clear out July and enter the last month of winter. Thursday as well, some rainfall expected, and the rain just continuing through Thursday, Friday, and even in towards Saturday as well. And all of this is adding up to some pretty significant accumulations. We're going to go north to south here. Rainfall extending as far north as Kalbarri. A lot of it is going to be 5 to 10 day rainfall though, but still over the next 5 days expecting a couple of millimeters around Kalbarri. Down towards Geraldton expecting around 40 over the next 10 days, and about 25 of that will be falling over the next 5 days. Jurien Bay expecting a very healthy 100 millimeters of rainfall. They're very much in that swathe that's going to be receiving just that showery, miserable weather stuff that's been happening for the last couple of days and will continue to happen for the next couple of days as well. Down towards Perth as well, some very good rainfall is expected, around 90 to 100 millimeters. Some locations expecting more than 100 millimeters, especially as you get further south and into the Darling Ranges. The southern suburbs are going to get swamped with rainfall once again, and I'm expecting a very healthy 100 millimeters this week. A lot of this rainfall also happening over the next 5 days. It does include Sunday's weather system coming through, but in terms of rainfall over the next 3 days as well, some good rainfall expected, especially for the northern suburbs by the looks of things, up to 30 millimeters there. And I do reckon it's going to be locations between Perth up towards Cervantes and Jurien Bay, including our northern suburbs up towards Yanchep, that are expecting some very healthy rainfall accumulations over the next couple of days. The south coast as well, always running away with a prize for the most amount of rainfall. Some swathes offshore expecting 150 millimeters of the stuff, and good rainfall as well extending far into the wheat belt. In fact, the majority of the wheat belt expecting very healthy rainfall accumulations. As you get out towards Southern Cross, the rainfall does die off a little bit, but that's also where the wheat belt completely dies off as well, and you don't see many farms or crops out further than that. It turns into cattle stations and then the goldfields. Some good rainfall as well out towards Ravensthorpe and around Lake Grace and Newdigate. Some good rainfall rainfall out there. There's only one spot outside of Bremer Bay over the next 10 days that really is missing out on the rainfall. Again, that is typically a very dry spot, but it would be good to see a couple of drops of rainfall out there, especially because they are approaching drought-like conditions. But all in all, over the next 10 days, I'm going to say that 95% of the wheat belt is expecting at least 20 millimetres of rainfall. Very good accumulation is expected over the next 10 days, and this is fantastic to see. And for locations towards the west of the line between Northern and down towards Katanning, you can expect up to 50 millimetres of rainfall. Some very good accumulations, like I have been saying, are expected out there, which is just fantastic to see, and I'm very, very happy to be the one reporting that. That basically does it for Australia's weather, though. If you have enjoyed the video, then please consider leaving a like and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Your support is greatly appreciated. If you've got any feedback, or if you've got a question, or if I've left anything at all unanswered, please do let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much for watching the video to this point, and I will catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.